Hello, my friends. Today, let's start with a weekly summary. According to foreign analysts, over the past 7 days, Russian forces have managed to capture 64 square kilometers, and including the gray zone, this number increases to 98 square kilometers. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces have reclaimed nearly 3 square kilometers, and with the gray zone included, 9.5 square kilometers. As we can see, Russian troops continue their gradual territorial gains in Ukraine. Now, let's move on to Ukraine's counterattacks. There are some interesting details. In the Kupiansk direction, heavy fighting is ongoing for Petropavlivka. Interestingly, even Russian sources admit that Ukrainian forces have made gains there and are reclaiming lost positions. They also report that Ukrainian troops are advancing near the villages of Zapadne and Synkivka, with some military analysts already marking these areas as a gray zone. Additionally, Ukrainian forces are actively targeting Russian positions near Dvorichna with new confirmed drone strikes destroying Russian positions. This indicates that Russian forces have failed to make progress here and the initiative has shifted to Ukraine. This also means that any plans to encircle Pokrovsk, Kupiansk in the near future have been completely disrupted for the Russian army. There is also good news in the Borova direction. Russian forces continue attacks only on Bogoslavka, while Ukrainian troops have counterattacked and liberated the village of Nadia. Preliminary reports indicate that the advance was about 1.5 kilometers. However, the map has yet to be updated, but geolocation data already confirms Ukraine's progress. Meanwhile, Russian troops are striking the area to prevent Ukrainian forces from securing their positions. As we can see, the fighting is still ongoing. Now let's shift to the border situation. In the Belgorod direction, the Ukrainian side hasn't confirmed any breach into Russian territory. For now, reports indicate a continued shelling of Sumy region. However, Russian sources keep claiming that Ukrainian forces have captured the village of Demidovka. Russian Z channels continue to confirm that Ukrainian troops have taken control of Demidovka in the Belgorod region. Now they complain that their forces simply abandoned the village, allowing Ukrainian troops to advance without resistance. As we can see, Sirsky seems intent on pushing Ukrainian forces into Russian territory, though his exact motives remain unclear. For now, we're waiting for official confirmation on this matter, as Sirsky's plans are unknown to anyone. In the Kursk direction, Russian forces continue launching intense assaults on Ukrainian positions along the border. However, they have failed to advance and the front line remains unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Kharkiv direction, for now, the situation is calm with no new Russian attacks reported. All previous assaults near the village of Gliboke ended in heavy Russian losses. In Vovchansk, fighting is ongoing, but Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks, keeping the front line stable. Now, let's return to the front line, specifically to the Leman direction. Here, the Russians continue their aggressive advances towards Novomykhailivka, Lipove, storming Kolodyazi, Yampilivka, pushing near Torske, and in the Serebryanka forest. This situation is very difficult. Russian war correspondents recently even claimed that the Ukrainian forces had withdrawn from Yampilivka. However, it seems they were too quick to make this statement as the battle for the village is still ongoing. Over the past 24 hours, there have been no changes on the front line. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are assaulting Bilohorivka and attempting to break through from Spirne across the fields. However, activity here remains low and there are no changes on the front line. In the Chasiv Yar direction. Currently, battles are ongoing in the fields near Andriivka. Beyond that, Russian forces are not conducting new assaults, and the front line remains unchanged over the past 24 hours. However, Russia continues to pull in reinforcements, and Ukrainian forces report a worsening situation. The Russians are striking in the south of the city, gradually destroying our strongholds and pushing us back. They are not stopping and are constantly increasing pressure. The situation here will change soon. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, at least for the survival of as many of our soldiers as possible. In the Toretsk direction. The situation remains extremely difficult. Russian forces are storming Sherbinivka, Toretsk, attempting breakthroughs near Krymske and Druzhba, and attacking Delivka. Over the past 24 hours, the front line hasn't changed, but Russian activity is carrying out up to 20 assaults per day and maintaining high combat activity. Meanwhile, south of the area, Russian forces have resumed the assaults on Pantelemonivka. So far, Ukrainian forces are holding the defense, but Russian troops aim to straighten the front line. The situation in Toretsk continues to deteriorate. The Toretsk mine and its slag heap are almost entirely lost. Rearguard resistance is ongoing, but the overall picture is clear. Krymsk is not just lost. The Russians have advanced to the reservoirs and managed to secure their positions. From the central mine, they are trying to push south toward the remaining parts of Zabalka. In short, we are preparing for the full loss of Toretsk. The priority is to preserve the lives and health of our personnel. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russian forces continue the assaults on Novoalexandrivka, Udachne, Kotline, Chunishine, and are attempting a breakthrough on the outskirts of Pokrovsk. They are also storming Lysivka, Yelizavetivka, and pushing near Tarasivka. As we can see, Russian activity remains extremely high. However, Ukrainian forces continue to hold the defense, and the front line has remained unchanged for a significant period. Meanwhile, reports suggest that Ukraine is preparing for counterattacks. Ukrainian forces managed to break through to Solone and secure positions on its outskirts. Our troops have cut off all Russian logistics, first from Selidove to Novotroitsk and then from Karlivka to Selidove. Something bigger than counterattacks is being prepared here. It's evident that Pokrovsk is being defended and Ukraine is attempting to cut off the flank that Russian forces have extended in an attempt to encircle the city. Hopefully, this maneuver will succeed, pushing Russian troops back. In the Kurakhove direction, Russian forces continue assaults on Kotlyarivka, Konstantinopel, and Rozliv. Despite sustained high activity, they are unable to advance any further. Ukrainian troops have managed to stop them, and the front line has remained unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Velika Novosilka direction, Russian forces have halted all attacks and are currently repositioning their troops, though shelling continues in the usual manner. Over the past 24 hours, the situation remains unchanged. In the Zaporizhia direction, Russian forces continue the attacks on Sherbaki and are attempting to break through to Novodanilivka. However, there have been no changes in the situation over the past 24 hours, with shelling continuing as usual. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces continue shelling, but no new attacks on the islands have been recorded. Over the past 24 hours, the front line remains unchanged. Meanwhile, the first information regarding negotiations has emerged. We have finished our meeting with the American team. The conversation was constructive and substantive. We discussed key issues, particularly in the energy sector. The goal of President Zelensky is to achieve a fair and lasting peace for our country and people. Therefore, we are working to make this a reality for all of Europe. Details are awaited, and today we expect a response from the Russian side. For now, talks are focused on halting strikes on energy facilities and a ceasefire in the Black Sea, but this is seen as the first step towards a complete ceasefire. At the same time, Waltz has stated that strikes on energy infrastructure have already ceased and that the focus is now on discussions about a ceasefire in the Black Sea to resume trade.
We're moving closer, and we're closer to peace than we ever have been. This started with President Trump talking to both leaders back to back. We then, Secretary of State Rubio and I engaged the Russians, engaged the Ukrainians at our level. And now we have technical teams actually with Ukrainians and Russians in the same facility conducting proximity talks. And the progression will be, we have this ceasefire on aerial infrastructure. That went in place immediately after President Trump's call with President Putin this week. We are now going to talk about a Black Sea maritime ceasefire so that both sides can move grain, fuel, and start conducting trade again in the Black Sea. And then we'll talk the line of control, which is the actual front lines. And that gets into the details of verification mechanisms, peacekeeping, freezing the lines where they are, and then, of course, the broader and permanent peace, which will be some type of discussion of territory for permanent peace and a lasting peace.
Friends, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.